Kick off. We've got Tracy Goodsmith here, who's head of design for PUMA Sports Style. Been there for over 8 years.
You've done your research. That's right. Yeah,
I've
been there just over 8 years, based in Germany. As you can tell, I don't have that German accent, but 8 years later, here we are. Yeah.
So you travelled over.
That's right.
Especially for the podcast.
Actually, that is entirely true. Maybe I'll have a little bit of fun afterwards as well. But yeah. By the way, I really mean it. Like, thanks everyone. Thanks you guys. I'm really looking forward to this. It's really an honor to be here. Yeah.
It's really good to have you because for us, like, PUMA has absolutely blown up on our channels on the Soul Supplier over the past 2 years, especially. And without giving you too much of a big head, I guess that a lot of the designs you've been at the top and responsible for.
Well, I can't take credit. I'd love to, but I can't take credit for everything that goes on. I work with a team of really incredible people, people from all over the world. We got like 30, 40 designers on the Sportstyle footwear design team alone. And, some from Europe, some from Asia, some from the US. And I just got to give full credit to all the designers and the entire product teams. I know that's a little bit political, but I mean it. Like, I really work with some crazy cool people. I'd love to give you all a tour. I know that's impossible, but
it's
nice
Germany,
of you to
right?
say. Nice of you to say. Yeah, based in Germany. I think in that team we must have, I don't know, like 12, 13, 14 different nations all coming together. Brilliant designers. Absolutely brilliant.
So if you want to get into design at PUMA, you're going to have to go and live in Germany.
Well, we actually got different, even just in our team, we got designers in Tokyo, we got designers in Boston, we got designers in Vietnam. We actually got like a global team going on, but most of us are based in Germany because, as you know, PUMA was originally from southern Germany, and PUMA is to this day in southern Germany.
Because you actually just said PUMA there, and we got a mix of, but the correct way to say it is PUMA or PUMA.
I would love, I'm not super happy about my American accent. I know it's a little bit rough on some of the English accent is much easier, but I think that's the American accent version, PUMA.
Yeah, because we got 2 people in our office that say exactly that. Right?
Yeah. No, all good.
See, I just thought it was just PUMA. Like, I just think it's purely his accent. I don't think it's a word that can really be mistaken for.
Absolutely.
I feel like I might be reading a little bit too much into it. Like, it's definitely just PUMA.
All right, Alex, then I see what's going on here.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
We started on a good note and you've just teared straight into
me.
We
go.
This is how the Soul Supplier podcast goes sometimes. He likes to tear into me, you know?
Hey, that's what we're here to do.
If anyone's seen it, who loves Alex's banter on the podcast?
No one. Literally no one in this room has seen the podcast before.
Okay.
It's just us, I think.
Anyone seen Alex dancing on TikTok?
Hey!
Are you on TikTok, Tracy?
Let's. We can talk about that. We talk about that after.
Yeah, I mean, we won't get into it, right? But
you mentioned how big the teams are, and you've got quite a vast team from different areas, of the world. Yeah. How much of a part does that play in your design process? Like, people taking inspiration from their own backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah, no. It's massively important. It's massively influential in that process. Not only are designers from different parts of the world, they're coming from different disciplines. You might have an industrial designer, a fashion designer, an apparel designer that came to footwear, someone who did accessories, someone who did graphics, did textiles. So not only do they bring in like these different disciplines, but people have a really different sense of what is cool based on where they're from. So it's just like if someone's from the UK, there's a certain sense of what's cool. That might be different in LA. That might be different in Tokyo. So when you actually pull from people all over the world, we're not designing for Europe. We're designing for the world. And you're going to get a lot stronger when you pull a team of people from all over the world. And even when they're there, one of the cool things actually about PUMA is we got a healthy travel budget that it's like, look, if we've spent a little bit too much time, in the building, a little bit too much time in Europe, I'll be like, you need to go to Tokyo for a week, see what's up, come back, educate everyone else as to what's going on. And we do that. Everybody gets on the road at least once a year, maybe twice a year, see what's up.
As you've said that, every single person in the building that works for the Soul Supplier is now looking at George going, I think I need a week in LA. I think I need a week in Tokyo. Emily's probably going, I want to go back to Tokyo.
Yeah, again, it sounds good. We went to Amsterdam at Christmas. I mean, that wasn't too bad, right?
That's
we took
not
the
too
team
bad,
there, but
sorry, we forgot to mention as well at the beginning that at the end we'll take questions from everyone for Tracy, if anyone's got any, if you want to think of any, or if you have any questions for us.
Yeah, who here would love to be a footwear designer? Because this is something that I speak to a few people about. Put any show of hands if you're looking to get into footwear design.
They're shy.
Or better still, would you like to just design a shoe?
Yeah.
That's probably a bit more.
Okay, cool.
Tegan and Kelly over there. Yeah. Because something that I've been asked quite a few times is how do you get into designing footwear? Because it seems like just this rare thing, this rare job that would be so difficult. What do you do to start?
Right. So, like I said, people really start from different places. They have different trajectories. Some people, they know what they want to do when they were super young, and they manage to get their portfolio together. They manage to get their foot in the door, and it just works. Some people, it's a more sort of sideways road of where they start and where they finish. When I'm talking with people that actually want to join PUMA, and I tell everyone here, just like I tell someone in the interviews, I'm looking for two things. One is a portfolio of work. That
what,
is
in
just
footwear or
in footwear?
Okay.
In footwear, a portfolio of work that you just open to the first page and you just feel it, you just see it and it's there. You don't need to spend 30 minutes thinking about it. You see it immediately.
And it clicks, yeah.
And it clicks. And the second thing is gonna edit what I'm gonna say, but don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. If you're cool to hang out with. And if your portfolio, the first time I see it, my heart just starts to beat a little bit faster, we're good. Because I'm going to be spending a lot of time with you. We're going to be having some conversations. People are going to be stressed out. We're going to be on a plane for 12 hours together. There's a lot of intensity that goes on there. So we got to be cool.
With them. Yeah.
But honestly, when I open that book, I don't need to think about it. You just see it and you're like, okay, let's go.
So when you say a book, a portfolio, and that could just be... How technical does that drawing or that design need to be? Are you looking for a specific thing, or could it just be a 16-year-old kid that's been doing this as a passion, and he pulls something out the bag and he sends it to you and he says Tracy, what do you think? And you're like, bam, that's it. That's what we need.
Something that just speaks to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, sometimes you're like, hey, I need someone who's been doing this, and we need some a senior person that's going to be able to lead other people, inspire other people. You look for something different. Sometimes you just need a junior that's going to shake something up. Maybe someone that didn't even come from, maybe they don't have a degree. Maybe they don't actually have a shoe that's ever been in the market. But it's sometimes you just see someone that they have a fresh way of thinking. They're really in touch with what people are obsessed with at that time. And you realize, okay, we can work together and eventually turn you into that more senior person. But there always has to be that spark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the shoe that we're here for tonight, obviously, is the PUMA Future Ryder. Obviously, your team has designed it, and you're going to have a bit of a biased opinion on it. But what are your thoughts on it? How happy are you with the outcome?
Well, we hope you like it.
Yeah.
A bit, yeah. Of course, it's a biased opinion, but something that is simple and beautiful isn't simple doesn't mean easy, if that makes sense. When you do something that's maybe much more complex, maybe that's not easy either. But once you really strip things down to very core elements and can somehow get every line exactly right and every proportion exactly right and keep the story simple and easy to understand, that shouldn't be difficult, but it's easy for people to make that difficult. So the thing about this shoe is it's beautiful, but it's simple. Yeah.
I think a lot of people in the room with me now will agree that over the last 18 months to 2 years, PUMA's product, from a footwear perspective, has been a lot stronger than it has been in previous years. And that's not me, being outlandish or trying to be disrespectful in any way. I've always been a big fan of PUMA from early Suede and Clyde. But some of the Future Ryder has now become one of my favorite shoes. I have maybe 7 or 8 pairs. And for me personally, now people are going to think this is ridiculous, but it's become, for me, what the Air Max 1 is for Puma, for Nike.
Wow.
Like there's so many colorways, and I've not seen one I don't like so far.
Wow.
So it's become that kind of like level.
Yeah.
So what's the reaction been for you?
Overwhelmingly positive. And here's the thing: is like it's true. Like and I do mean we, like what we as a product team and as a brand have done over the past 8 years has really transformed things. But to really answer your question, like what starts to go through my head is like, when you're fixing a broken engine, that part's easy. When you have an engine that's really, really performing, you're like, okay, now we got to go faster. We got to take it to new levels that's a bit more uncharted territory. So it's an exciting place to be because, like I said, the designers that we have, crazy strong, crazy talented, really, really motivated and dedicated, like just incredibly positive group of people. So that's the group of people that actually can then take it to that next level. But it's that thing where it's just like you start to go in uncharted territory. I mean, Puma's got this massive history. It has this massive heritage. It's been successful. But now that we've actually got the brand heat back, you're like, hey, we're in the driver's seat. You just got a rocket engine behind you, but now you're taking it, places it hasn't been before. That's really exciting, but that's also like a bigger challenge than it was a few years ago, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because
what were some of the success stories about this, let's say, from some of the guys that work for you? Were there any ones that were like, really young, just started, like you mentioned, juniors that came in and had a real influence on the design?
Well, absolutely. This design, this was one that I could say it came together quickly, but honestly, like there's a long road for something to come together quickly. There's when the design team's working on that, there's relationships, there's a lot of heritage, there's understanding, so that when a shoe like this comes together and everyone gets behind it, you can tell this isn't designed by committee. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like this just came together in a smoother way. Interestingly, I'll give you a little backstory on a shoe like this. It's of course inspired by the original Ryder. I mean, you can see that it's really fine-tuning like the proportions a bit, but you still see the original DNA of that shoe in this shoe. But then it's like you got to kind of think of something new to just give it some new blood. And on something like this, it was actually inspired also by a kite, if you can believe that. Completely different idea. So this is a little bit more...
We had different ideas. What did you think it was inspired by?
This is more on the inside.
Well, no, I knew that it was it's essentially bringing the Fast Rider into the future, isn't it? It's like bringing the past into the present.
Without a doubt. That's exactly what it is. And when we talk about some of the material ways on something like this, it was literally inspired by the idea of, like a kite.
Yeah.
It has that internal structure. It has these textiles. It's more lightweight, and that inspired that particular material execution. Sometimes they're really jumping it out in colors, but in the different material executions, you can then just get a different spark of the idea. But the main point is like it comes back from the original, but on such an iconic shoe, you take it to that new level through simplicity and through proportion and just being true to the original shoe.
Once you've got sorry to cut you off, man. Once you've got a design like this, how do you choose the colour that leads? Because everyone's so opinionated on, I don't like that colour, I love that colour.
Yeah.
It's always
so
a wild
subjective,
colour
right?
as well. To whenever you launch a shoe, it's mad.
Yeah, you're like, why did they, or sometimes you're like, I love that, but why did they release that
We
first?
have so many color conversations. I can't tell you. Like we will, because we want to make sure it's relevant. We want to make sure the colors feel fresh, but it also needs to be iconic. Like I'm hoping that everyone in this room, if you see another shoe from another company in 5 years and there's those colors are there, I want everyone here to like realize, oh, wait, that was like that Ryder colorway. But we had thousands of, not thousands, but we had multiple meetings. I'm sure I was in 10 minimum conversations about that colorway.
So is that the trickiest part, would you say then, deciding the colorway?
Well, absolutely, because maybe everyone here, I hope everyone here kind of likes that shoe, but probably everyone here has a favorite colorway. And then probably they have a certain colorway that it's not for them. And that's paramount. It might be like, oh, okay, if I move this little line 1 millimeter, probably no one here is going to like have a massive, like, oh, I'm not going to buy it, I am going to buy it. But we throw the wrong color on that. Someone's like, no, that one's not for me. Where someone else is like, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
We go deep on every colorway.
Yeah,
we get passionate about color. Like we get people upset about color. We get people super excited about color. Like we go deep on color.
what about the biggest mistake that you've made, say, with a colour over the last 8 years?
Oh, that's a long
Because
list.
as well as the successes, people
Yeah.
love to hear about what went wrong and how did you get past it.
Well, this I've been telling people even this tonight is like, I'm not one to wear green. Like green's a difficult color. Like it's.
You're
but
talking to a room of like some of the coolest people in London. They're like, nah, green's easy, man. I'll
green's
work it, don't
easy,
worry.
but green's also not easy. Like because when I look at this shoe, it got me into green like most shoes won't.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I get that. I've had shoes that change my taste in a color or a texture or a style.
And it's how it
I get
plays
that.
off the rest of the colors that somehow makes it work. Because green can go really wrong really fast. But this is beautiful.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you kind of dodged the question there, Tracy, a little bit.
No, hit me with it again.
I guess what is something that went wrong and how did you get past it when you were...
I did
say,
dodge that question, didn't I? Yeah.
Kind of.
I'm glad you keep me honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes what I think of is, I'm going to give you an example of and then just as a contrast. So like when we do colors on something like this, sometimes what will happen is you roll out all the colors. We actually we have a view that we can see all of the colors together, but the timing has got to be exactly right. And that would be sometimes one of the biggest mistakes is if you get those right colors, but who knows? You might even be like, it was a factory thing. You might even be just like, oh, we missed a little detail.
You're looking at them.
We see everything together. But in the end, if we're doing like 10 colors, 20 colors, 30 colors over a season, if you miss, if you make a couple shoes that are kind of doing the same job is what we call it. It's just like you don't necessarily make a different statements with that color. That's something that's an easy stumble to make. It looks brilliant by itself. It looks brilliant by itself. It looks brilliant by itself. You look at everything together and it's just like, did we really move it on? And it's easy to do because it looks great. It looks great. It looks great. But you don't need just shoes to look great individually. You need to tell that story for months. So that's the easiest mistake to make.
As an in-house designer, how much do you have to do with collaborations? So, for example, the Chinatown Market collaboration, how much say do you have on that?
It's heavily collaborative. We have designers. We have a crew of designers that specifically work on collabs. They will also travel the world. Partners will come to us as well, but it's highly collaborative. So we make sure that PUMA is well represented, and whoever the partner is, we make sure that they're well represented as well. And interestingly, with creative teams, it actually stays pretty positive. There's not a lot of power struggles, anything like that. But on anything you see that we do, you'll realize it's definitely PUMA. Whatever that product story is that we want to be pushing at that time, you feel it. You see the DNA of the brand. You see the DNA of the shoe, but you can't ignore that the partner was heavily influenced, or the design was heavily influenced by the partner too.
How much of it is an element of luck? Like you mentioned timing, right? Because I really feel like Alex has said that you've nailed the design, and with the RSX, the Ryder, that they're blowing up the design, but also the colors, the color blocking. It's getting so many people excited, right?
It started from RSO though. I remember when they launched it back in Berlin. That was unbelievable. Right. Just the little launch they did.
Yeah.
And it's just literally that. I think that's the RSO was the shoe that kind of got everybody's attention again for PUMA.
That's right.
And it's just kind of gone from strength to strength that I've seen anyway. From from a retail perspective, from just from the people that I speak to and I see day in day out.
Yeah.
How much of that is down to? Because you can say, right, this is right, this is right, this is right, but until you release that shoe to the market, you're waiting, right? There's an element of, will this hit and land like we need it to, or is it so data driven?
No. Oh no. There's definitely that element of risk, but honestly, I think because there's that element of risk, after a while, you kind of look forward to it. I think if it was possible to predict things like that. Like data driven, there's a lot to do with data, don't get me wrong, but it's if you could actually get it down to that, where's the heart, where's the soul, where's the energy, and honestly, where's the risk? if we just knew, it's going to work every time, I think I would have to do something else. Like you got to have something where it's like
element of risk, right?
You got to.
I get it.
That's life. I mean, you got. Otherwise, you're not pushing. You're not moving if there's no risk.
Is there anything like that now where it's probably behind the scenes, right? But where you guys are working with technology to seriously inform your designs and style choices and
PUMA jamming was a bit like that though, wasn't it? That was like a new technology that you hadn't used before.
Of course.
And it was kind of like, how was that going to work within the market?
There's so many ways to answer that question. Within the design scene, we actually do a lot with 3D virtual technologies, as well as just ripping apart a shoe and stapling it back together. Like we do all of that within our team. What data can do in actually assisting the design or informing how designers work, I don't want to go too much into that.
Secret.
It's maybe, but
we'll get into the classified information.
Yeah.
Now.
There's it's a massively fascinating topic, and I would say over the next 10 years, get ready for that to influence what's up. But the thing about that is like I really believe there's something about like knowing the designer that worked on that shoe and knowing the color designer that worked on it and the materials and the team that helped pull all of us together. I don't necessarily want to replace that with ones and zeros and data. Like PUMA's not ever and should never be like, oh yeah, there was an algorithm. Even if that's available, that's not a brand. That's not a team. That's
I agree.
Not creativity.
It's not creativity, right? How can you replace creativity with data? It doesn't make sense. It's the opposite.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not what I stand for. I get it. It's going to come. It'll influence everything we do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's musicians in the room. I'm sure there's all sorts of, plugins, this and that, and sequencers that, help you create a beat. Good. There's still that interaction though. It's not like you just kind of like take your hands off and like, I'm just going to let the like, that's not what art, that's not what culture, that's not
but
what
it helps to
creativity is
inform
about.
things, right? Like
It can be used as a tool, but like, we need the people. That's what we stand for.
I like it when you just go back to basics of stuff though, and you just keep it simple. There's the some people will know, some people won't. There's a size SMU coming out, which is part of the Easter pack, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's the Style Ryder, and essentially the shoe just tears away.
Yeah,
now,
that's crazy.
So I actually spoke with one of the buyers at Size, and he said that when he kind of when they're doing like the briefs between both parties, he was like, put something in there that I don't even know about. Put something in there that we don't know about.
That to the design team.
Yeah. So like add something in underneath the tearaway panels that we don't even know what it is. So when we tear it away, we'll see it and it's a surprise. Yeah. Obviously, it's not going to be something ridiculous like offensive, but like put something, I don't know, an elephant.
Is that what you would have liked? Something offensive under the panels.
Yes, mate. That's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. Probably.
Sole Supplier logo.
Yeah. But some brands do go down that route. Like you get some brands, like some high-end brands that I know we've gone off topic, but that go down that offensive route now to make a statement. It's not something that PUMA would do, right? But
it's not something that PUMA would do. I mean, there's a time and a place, but there's other ways to approach it too. That's probably more the PUMA approach.
Yeah, to make a statement. Yeah. How difficult is that sort of material to implement? Because you are seeing other, it's like crazier materials now more than ever.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I see some pictures online, and until you see the shoe in hand, or you can't imagine how that works.
Yeah. That's a dialogue we have a lot because we want to. I mean, it is a big brand, and we don't want to be so exclusive that we're cutting people out. Like we want to be an inclusive brand. We don't want to just say like, hey, we're only for you. We want to be for you, but we want to include a bigger group of people, and so we have to just be sensitive. And like this goes pretty quickly down even like certain political roads about you also want to be aware of that bigger message that people have. Like, is it really an inclusive brand, or are you kind of pushing people out? And I want to be an inclusive brand. So for me, there's a tipping point. There's a balance there.
On that note about being an inclusive brand, there's a lot of talk about how brands are handling the whole male, female, and unisex thing, right? Mm-hmm. Do you just design for women? Do you just design for men? Yeah. Or do you design for all? Then how do you put the sizes on that shoe? Do you just make them a women's size run, or even though it's designed for women, do you open the size run up for men as well?
Right.
They need to do that, man. I love wearing women's shoes. Like obviously trainers. Like I ain't got too many stilettos. You know what I mean? But I've got loads of women's shoes.
Yeah, me and Alex luckily
Trainers.
can fit into either size run. You know, so
yeah.
But then like
George is
Dan,
a UK 6, by the way, if anyone doesn't know.
I'm not a UK 6. Thanks though. But Dan's a
6.5.
size 10. So whenever Dan's trying to copy me, I say, bro, they're in women's sizes. Only I can wear them. No, I'm joking with you.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you handle that?
So it gets a little bit complicated and not so interesting, but because there's like a retail element and a sample size element and a sales element, retail, all of that. But from the design side, we talk about this a lot because there was a certain zone where it really seemed like, okay, it was polarizing. It was just like, okay, there's a men's, there's a unisex, there's a women's, and actually trying to somehow recognize that there's people that actually, there's a man that would want this, so-called women's colorway, but the size run is going to, it would cut out. We've moved more that direction that we can increase that size run on certain styles. If we see that there is that need, there is that interest, like we will definitely do that. And in the past, it was much more polarizing thinking, but I think with PUMA probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, the market really saw a shift in our thinking in that regard.
I think it's more the other end of the spectrum. I mean, a lot of the women in the room will let you know, but I think it's more women wanting men's colorways. Like, when you might just
get God, don't get me... Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the bigger issue. I mean, I know there's a lot of guys that want to have some of the more bright colors, but I think a lot of the time women are like, why is everything pink? Why is everything sparkly? Why has it got a cat on it?
We take that as a given, actually. Like, I don't even speak to it because our color team specifically, I think, I want to say...
This is the man to throw all your abuse out, by the way, women.
I want to say in the color team specifically, we must have like 6 or 7 women. And like... if it goes the wrong way, they're the first one that's just like, I would like that color, please. And they're actually the ones making the color. So I think because we have that influence actually in the design room, it starts to turn that. Yeah.
Right, Tracy, there is one thing that really bugs me about this shoe. And I need an answer.
Yeah.
What is this? And why is it here? What's its purpose? I like it. I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
But what's its purpose?
Well, see, here's the thing. We have both shoes here, right? And so one of the things we did proportionally is the dimension of this shoe. It's actually a functional element. Because
I want to know about this because I've had so many conversations with people at PUMA and outside PUMA.
What do you tell people?
I just tell it.
What's your take on that at the back?
Honestly, I say it was copied from the Adidas NMD.
Oh. No, absolutely not.
That's what I say.
He's never,
the material's
never
different.
not honest.
No, but listen, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here to light the fire. You know what I mean?
Here we go. Nah, so like I said, this is relating to the original, but of course, it also improves on the original. So when you're on a sole like this, I mean, we've seen these big chunky runner shoes, and your entire foot is like wrapped in EVA, and it's super stable. But on some of these more like die-cut EVA runners, you're up a little bit, and it makes it a little bit easier to sort of, it's not quite as stable because you don't have as much material actually wrapping the foot. So something like this grabs the heel and keeps you just a bit locked on the top. We wanted to style it so that it still feels a little bit blocky and archive while feeling more futuristic.
So this actually protects your ankle from rolling, basically. These blocks, right?
That's the point of those blocks because... if you get a lot more EVA, the shoe's more stable. But when you're a little bit more die cut and it's a little bit taller, that brings in the stability.
So should I be one of the members of the public who overpronate when they walk? This would be a suitable option for me to
Do you even run?
use. You don't have to overpronate to run.
All right.
When you walk, you overpronate. Someone come and get this guy out of here.
I've never heard of anyone overpronating when they walk. Like, how do you even find that out? How do you find that out?
It's the same function as when you run.
Yeah, but you find out when you run because it's a real problem when you run, not when you walk. You're not just walking down the road.
You could literally pick anybody out of the audience and ask them to walk 10 steps in front of you and you can see whether they overpronate or not.
To be fair, you did work in this industry for a little while, so I trust you.
Okay.
We're good.
How does it make you feel when you're on your daily commute and you see people wearing the shoe that you've designed?
Oh my God, it's incredible. I'll keep it short because I know we're a little bit over time. It's incredible. This isn't a daily commute, but I will say this was quite a while ago. I happened to get on a plane. I was headed home for Christmas, and I saw someone wearing one of my shoes, and I was super excited. Like he was in the very front of the plane. I was super excited. I was just walking in, And I was just like, oh, I designed your shoe. Dude didn't speak any English. Did not know what I was talking about. It's like one of them like pointing his feet and shouting. Like it was a bit uncomfortable. But it's a rush. It's absolutely a rush. It never gets old.
Well, so you call people out when you see them sometimes?
My wife wants me to do it more. She's always just like, tell them you designed your shoes.
Oh,
I'm like, I remember
100%.
that time that dude was freaking out because I was like shouting at his feet and he was like trying to open the Sky Mall or
Yeah,
something
you
like
got to
that.
keep your cool.
100%.
Yeah.
I just walk up to people and go, I did that. Just wink at them and walk away.
Yeah, see,
that was me.
it's a little creepy. It's a little creepy. Yeah.
We end it on a positive note. Tracy, it's been golden having you down. Thank you. And
Thank you. Thanks to everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you for
very much.
everyone coming
if
down
you
as
do
well. Can
have
give Tracy
anything,
a round of
hit him
applause.
up.
Thank you.